Raymond here for HowardForums.com reviewing the Blackberry Z30, or for American viewers, the Z30. Bottom line, I like the phone. On the outside, it's beautiful. Inside, the guts of it, fantastic, top notch there. Outside, beautiful piece of glass. I mean, look at it, goes right edge to edge. It's 5 inches. Little metally accents on the outside. The backside has got this carbon fiber-esque material, Formula One inspired. Weight, just it's perfect in your hands, really. What I like to do when I'm reviewing phones is look at how the piece is constructed. And what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll start to torque it, twist it a little bit, and hear what kind of squeaks and rattles it makes. And really, you don't have much with this. It's a solid phone. It's way up there, I would say, with what iPhones produce today. For what you're going to do 95% of the time, and the most important things, making a phone call, it can do it. It does it really well. Second thing is instant messaging, the social media aspect. It does it well too. Browsing the internet, it's got it. Video and pictures, it does fantastic. I mean, I'm not going to dog anything. There are some better options out there, but for what you're getting with this, it does it really well. And like I said, the video part, it'll blow your ears away. And that's what I'll get into a bit later. Anyway, first thing you'll notice, like I said, is that back with the carbon fiber-esque backing there. It's not real carbon fiber, it definitely looks like it. Battery, it's not removable anymore. It is large at 2880 milliamp hours. Is it a big deal that's not removable anymore? Personally, I don't think so. It's definitely large. It's got a lot of power, so I think that makes up for the fact that you can't just swap it out. SIM card slot, micro SD card slot, HDMI port, and USB port. Fantastic, no big deals there. Weight, 170 grams for this phone. Is that an issue? I don't think so. The Galaxy S4 is 130 grams. The Z10 is 136 grams. We're talking grams, so I don't think anybody's going to make a stink about it. But what I do believe is an issue is about balance. Take that standard pencil test and find out where that center of gravity is. And it's pretty close to the center there. Great. What I like to make note of is that when you're holding it in your hand, the higher up that center of gravity is, the more unstable it's going to feel to use with one hand. It definitely is size-wise. This is about as big as I would like to go with a phone in terms of width and length. Weight, like I said, is not a big issue. It feels balanced. It feels you can hold it confidently in your hand, and you can get stuff done, which is great. Next thing, when we're talking about battery life, one of the things I did test at my desk at work is how it does with a low signal or intermittent signal at my desk. I'm with TELUS right now, and thankfully I had this phone with TELUS, and I had the Huawei Z10 to try with TELUS as well, and my iPhone 5S as well. So all being said is that the Z30 now has some kind of new technology called a Paratic antenna, and this is supposed to be able to adjust to intermittent or low signals and adjust for that or adapt to it dynamically. Did it work? I'd say yes. Here's some pictures from me from at work. I mean, it did only have maybe 2 solid bars of strength, but it made a difference. Display, like I was saying, a nice piece of glass on the front. It rolls right off the edges like kind of water. 5-inch Super AMOLED display. Doesn't have that super saturated ness that I've seen in others I've tested. Produces colors, very balanced way, but I have seen the blacks just quite aren't there. It's hard to kind of simulate here, but take my word for it. I just don't think they're deep enough. I don't think they're black enough, but I'm picky that way. Screen resolution, 1280 by 720, which is about the same as the Z10. And the lower crispness, now what I'm seeing here on the Z30 is that text just isn't quite crisp. That's because we're at 295 pixels per inch versus 356. This is noticeable. Is it a big deal? Maybe not to most users, but I expect more from a flagship model. I mean, yeah, I prefer a 720p TV that's mind-blowing versus a so-so 1080p. And I have learned from reviewing phones that you just can't go on specs alone. Viewing angles is more acceptable, fantastic, and it's definitely bright enough outdoors. It still does not meet, which I think is the king, the iPhone really is the king of outdoor direct sunlight. but I would put this ahead of the Samsung Galaxy series. This is running Blackberry OS 10.2, which is an upgrade, and I think we'll see it on every other device there. One of the features to highlight is this thing called the Priority Hub. And what this does is allow the user to select either contacts or a certain thread in order to highlight and just show in this kind of mini inbox here. Great feature because, I mean, I've got my Twitter, my Facebook, I've got email accounts, and God knows what. All of that loaded into the hub, but now having a priority hub, I can kind of highlight or just see the stuff I want to see. Gimmicky, kind of, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's a tool that you can definitely use. Next thing I got to point out is the camera. It's okay. It's not the best camera out there, but it definitely isn't terrible by any means. You do get a little bit of noise. I mean, here's a picture I did take at the drum festival. It looks kind of cool, does its thing, but not quite there yet with the competition. It does have an 8 megapixel sensor in the back, does have backside illumination, which helps. Maximum aperture of f2.2, can do 1080p video. Front camera is 2 megapixels. Doesn't appear to have backside illumination or focusing abilities. I think it's maybe like kind of one of those set focus things, but it does capture 720p on that front camera. Video, I did notice when I was shooting some video that there's a little bit of lag and jittering when shooting, but I didn't see that in the final product. The audio that it captures is decent. I think they could be doing a lot better considering the output of the audio that this phone can do. I'll get to that in a second. Now, I don't think any of these things with camera performance, I wouldn't expect that from a dual core 1.7 gigahertz Qualcomm processor and 2 gigs of RAM. It really shouldn't be there, so I have a feeling it has more to do with software. Browser, web pages load up. There's no real surprises here. Great to have that extra bit of real estate to show the content on web pages. They render fine. Definitely not an issue here. I don't think there's anything that's going to surprise me in terms of the web that I look at. It does what it needs to do. What I do want to say is that there is a little bit of a issue with some of the applications you can get, and that has to do with BlackBerry World. It's not as populated as, say, the App Store for Apple, but I mean, there are some decent titles here. There's a couple games that I play that are available for Android and for iOS, but not here. So this worries me a little bit. I think they've really got to maybe focus on populating this a lot more and probably giving away these apps for free, and just to build up that market share or have some kind of unique content. One of the things that is unique is about BBM. Yay, that now it's available for iOS and Android. That's fantastic for the company, but are there any features here that I would say is unique to this that you can't get on, say, using Skype for video chat? No. So I don't know if it's more of a fad than anything, but I really seriously doubt that that's going to be something that's going to save the company. One of the things I wanted to highlight here was about video and audio. But before I get there, there is something. It does have 16 gigs of RAM available here, and I did pop in a video here, so you can take a look at how much memory is left after the OS and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, the video was about 1 gig, so it's not bad. It's close to 10 gigs of free storage available, but you do have that micro SD slot to compensate for it, so that's okay. One of the other things I wanted to show you was about video, and this is the most impressive feature that I did notice. This is Quantum Solace in here, and just maybe for comparison's sake, displaying video is not a big issue. It really comes down to the audio, and I'm not sure if this is going to be able to pick it up. But this one thing I did notice when I was playing the same video was really showing. It's my favorite part of the video, the movie. But one thing to highlight is there is uses this speaker here. It does have a speaker. Whoops. Right. It does have a speaker at the bottom here, where audio does come out of, And I think there's one up here too. I could be wrong, that might be the mic, but you're definitely getting stereo sound here, and it is balanced. It sounds fantastic. It's out of this world. Oh no! Anyway, that's the one feature I wanted to highlight about this phone is the audio out of this. It is the best that I have experienced from anything like a smartphone. The HTC One was my first top pick beforehand. Now this one is. It sounds amazing. I could see some amazing applicability for that, but it's just out of this world. You have to try it to believe me. So I mean, it is fantastic. I have to admit that. So one last thing I wanted to do is take a look at the Z30 compared to the Z10. If I had to choose between the two, I would definitely choose the Z30. You're getting a bigger screen, and the stereo speakers, the audio, I think once you hear it, you'll be like, oh, fantastic, you're just going to throw this thing away. The other thing I like that I haven't seen on anybody else is that the holster that you are getting with it has this little magnetic part. I didn't see the holster for the Z30 that Howie gave me, but on the Z10, it kind of allows the phone to display the sleep display. So that's kind of a cool feature, and I am seeing that that it is there. I think on the oh, maybe not. There it is. So it's there. That's great. Now, what about the other flagship model, the 5S iPhone? I think you really can't compare the two. The iPhone really, horsepower-wise, feature-wise, just miles ahead of the Z30. But the other thing I have to say is that if your world is Apple like it is mine, this just makes sense. It's a fantastic piece of hardware. There's a lot you can do with it. It's just all embedded into the ecosystem. You can't say that about BlackBerry. Unless you're from an enterprise and it's your work stuff and everything, your information security department says you got to use BlackBerry, then yeah, I would choose this one over the Q10, the Z10. I mean, definitely this is the phone of choice, but that's no longer going to be the case. As we get Android more into business in terms of the security and privacy issues, and iPhone even getting there, I think we're in a little bit of trouble with BlackBerry. But still, I like my iPhone. This is a definitely great piece of hardware, and I think it's great. So after all that, what's the final word on this thing? I give it 4 out of 5 Howies. It's not quite perfect. It's not quite there. But what it does do, it does it well. And I'm not going to review this on the things it can't do compared to the competition. What I would want to say is that maybe wait for the Z31 or the Z32, whatever they're going to call the next model, because it's a big step forward, but they haven't quite made it all the way there. I think they will be able to improve upon the things that this doesn't quite deliver on. And I mean, who knows? We might have something by the end of this year. The other thing I want to say about the BlackBerry, they've got this tremendous opportunity with the business and enterprise market. I mean, they had a big foothold there, and I think they're losing a little bit. This is a chance to get right in there. I mean, it looks fantastic. It does command that sense of respect when it comes to a phone. But, I mean, are you going to go into your meeting room like with one of these things and go, oh, hey, I'm serious about this? Well, I don't know. So 4 to 5 Howies, wait for the next one, and that's all I got.